Mr. Christopher. The box set you were looking at is for the Mission Impossible movie series. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to watch and review the first installment. If you should fail, you and your team shall be disavowed. This phone will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
Oh, God! Welcome back to the Out of Touch podcast. I'm Chris, that's Bill, and today we are watching Mission Impossible #1 from 1996, directed by Brian D. Palmer. So, Bill, what did you think of Mission Impossible?
You know, I was a little surprised when Jim Phelps wasn't the main character and it was instead a guy named Dan Briggs.
Wait, what?
The first Mission Impossible. We said we would watch the first Mission Impossible. So I've watched the first Mission Impossible from 1966.
Oh no.
What?
No, we're watching the one with Tom Cruise from 1996.
Oh no. I made a terrible mistake. No, you're kidding me, right? You said the first Mission Impossible.
Are you fucking kidding me right now?
Of course I'm kidding you. I actually watched both.
Okay. Wow.
I was kind of curious, so I decided to double back and watch the original pilot because I wanted to see how close the first movie was to its original source material. And just screw with you along the way.
I've never seen the original source material. In fact, I always forget that there is original source material for this movie franchise that has been going on since the 90s.
And the franchise as a whole has existed since the 60s.
This movie started when the Nintendo 64 was brand new. We're literally like 4 Nintendos ahead of that now, and it's still going.
Look, yeah, it's crazy. I mean, credit where credit's due, there's only like, what, 8 of them? They haven't like overdone it.
7, yeah.
7 going on 8? Something?
No, I think the newest one is 7.
I don't know.
Yeah.
This is the first one I've ever seen.
That's crazy that you've never seen this one.
I don't know, I just never bothered with it.
So what did you think of it?
It was interesting.
Yeah.
Especially with the added framework of having watched an episode and a half of the original show, because the first season has a different lead and then the Jim Phelps character comes in. So I wanted to see at least a little bit with that character. But I kind of determined, okay, every episode's it's a procedural spy show. Every episode begins more or less the same way. The team leader is like in a place, gets a message, gets his team together, which is usually just the same team with maybe 1 or 2 new ones. And I'm not gonna lie, the beginning of this movie, after the little prologue where we see them complete another mission, is actually a lot like that show.
Yeah.
Because we have Jim Phelps, this time played by a different actor. Was it John Voight?
Yeah.
And gets the mission, gets his team together, briefs the team, and they start going on the mission, wearing disguises, doing like sneaky spy stuff, and it's very much like that. And then everything just goes completely off the rails from there. And actually by the end of it, it becomes more like what people think the movies are, where it's Tom Cruise dangling on a thing while shit goes crazy. It's just not actually happening because it's on a green screen instead of real.
That's true. I was thinking that. Like, it's just like, oh yeah, this is before Tom Cruise. It's like, no, we're doing it for real. Like, if he made this movie now, it'd be like, no, I'm going to be actually on, like, a speeding train.
Which I think they're doing in the new one.
Oh, shit.
He's like, I got to circle back. I got to make things right.
Yeah. We got to do that train scene correctly this time. It's just like, we got to have a helicopter go into a tunnel and somehow not crash.
Obviously, they're not doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could do it if like the helicopter's not actually flying through the tunnel, if it's like on a rig or something.
Yeah. It's weird because I have no context for the original Mission Impossible. As far as I knew, I thought Ethan Hunt was the character from the original show.
No, it's that Jim Phelps character. They offered it to the original guy, but when he found out they wanted to make him, spoiler alert, I mean, 30-year-old spoiler,
yeah,
the bad guy.
I mean, he is like the bad guy, like a really bad guy in this movie.
He was like, the hell with that.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that they got away with, I mean, they probably got shit for it at the time, but it's been 30 years and nobody cares anymore. Could you imagine like another franchise coming back and then they take the original protagonist and just made him the villain? Like imagine like the Star Trek reboot. Kirk is the bad guy.
Weird. It's like if the Picard show happened and then like
Picard's the bad guy.
He's like, you know what? I loved being Locutus. It was amazing.
Exactly. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's very weird. when you think about it in that context.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's a weird turn, I guess, because, you know, the main bad guy of this movie, he's, you know, they work for covert ops.
IMF.
IMF.
Impossible Mission Force.
Yeah, which is not a real
No.
branch of the government.
No, it's purely fictional.
But he's kind of become, like, disenfranchised. He's like, this is all bullshit. And he's like, he has that one speech, like, towards the end of the movie where he's like, I'm busting my ass for, like, $60,000 a year on this, like, job that, like, doesn't matter and stuff. And I was just like, huh, I can relate to that.
Oh, no.
Like,
You're not going to have me killed, are you?
no. Podcast time. But anyway. But yeah, it was interesting. But
Yeah, but like I said, the first like 30 minutes until everything goes off the rails, it was pretty similar to what I saw in that original show, because you had somebody going around in a disguise and people sneaking about. Also, Emilio Estevez was in this movie.
Huh.
Go figure.
Yeah.
Didn't know that. I did know that and I forgot.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, this movie I've seen a couple times. I think the thing, like, I always think of it as, like, this is, like, the American version of James Bond in a weird way, even though it's, like, kind of, like, completely different.
Yeah, it's kind of its own thing.
Yeah. But,
Because, you know, Bond is a legacy. There's been multiple Bonds.
yeah.
It'd be one thing if Tom Cruise, when he inherited the franchise, was playing the original lead character, but he's not.
Yeah.
And technically, this is like a sequel to that,
Yeah, it's weird.
even though it's a different person playing Jim Phelps. I think that was the intent. So, I don't know, it's weird.
That is weird and pretty insane that it's, like, a continuation of, like, a old franchise, but just, like, lived on.
And just becomes something else, kind of.
Yeah. But I don't know how to go about, like, talking about this movie.
It's a fairly straightforward story. I mean, it's pretty, compared to, like, how bombastic the other ones look, it's pretty, like, low-key in a lot of places, because they get their mission, they go on their mission, somebody's betrayed them, Tom Cruise gets blamed for it,
Yeah.
so he's on the run. He finds the one other survivor from the mission, who's the wife of Jim Phelps, with a creepy age gap,
Yeah, that's a big gap.
a 20-plus year gap of some
man,
kind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I saw the other, like, criminal lady who was called Max, and I'm like, you're age appropriate for him.
Yeah.
You look like you're about 50-something.
Yeah.
Instead of this girl, I think probably like 31, 32 or something. I'm like, you look like a child next to this man.
Why are you dating Grandpa?
It's so weird.
It is weird. But, yeah, you know, the things I like about, like, the Mission Impossible, the first movie, is, like, the covert ops stuff, you know, doing, like, a secret spy mission, like, right out in the open with, like, you know, not anybody really knowing what's going on, but it kind of, like, keeps that motif of, like, the covert ops before it just, like, goes, like, crazy with the action later on in the movie. But
as far as I know, like, the realest stunt in this movie is Tom Cruise running from all that water.
Huh, okay.
I do remember that because it got parodied and mimicked all the time. Like, the most famous shot of the movie is him, like, dangling in front of that computer.
Yeah.
That was, like, the big famous bit from this movie.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the sweat beads, like,
Yeah.
falling on the floor and everything. But, you know, it's, like, a very different movie than you would think, especially when you do see, like, you know, the newest ones where they're just like, action, look at all this shit happening.
I mean, the selling point of the new ones is the action, is the stunt work, is what crazy thing is Tom Cruise going to do this time.
Yeah.
Whereas it wasn't. This was like they were just taking an old pre-existing thing, and, like, it was kind of in vogue in the 90s where they were taking
Yeah.
old TV shows and making, like, big movies of them. Usually a lot of the times it was just like a comedy thing. But this was like, we're going to take Mission Impossible and turn it into a big action movie.
Yeah.
Big spy thriller.
I mean, like, the carryovers from, like, the original show is, like, the name is really good, Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
You know,
They got a good theme.
the theme is great.
They do their own version of the theme song, that the light, the fire, that's from the original show.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is a good theme, and you can really make a good bombastic version of that. You
Yeah.
can have, like, a low-key version of that. It's very flexible. It's good.
Yeah.
It's a sign of a good theme, is how flexible it can be.
It's a great theme. But it's weird because this movie really, the only carryovers from this movie into the other movies are just like two characters, I think. It's like Tom Cruise and the hacker guy, Luther, who I forget the name of that actor, but...
Geez, I knew it like an hour ago.
Yeah, it starts with a V.
Oh, Vin Rames.
Vin Rames,
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew he was in a lot of these movies.
Yeah. But he's pretty cool, and... Yeah, like, it's weird, though. I don't know how much to say about it, just because it's like so low key, but the covert ops stuff is really cool in this movie. I really like it. You have like the whole, like, each aspect of the mission is like planned out so meticulously, and then it is also like cool seeing the flip end with the character Jim, who sabotages everything. Like, you get the guy that gets crushed by the elevator, you get the lady that like is stabbed, and like the whole part where like Tom Cruise is figuring it out when Jim like shows up being like mysteriously alive, and you see that whole sequence from Jim's perspective.
Yeah.
It's like really cool. It's like, oh shit, he's a bad man.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not really too many fight scenes.
No, this is much more
Kinda
quiet spy stuff.
Yeah, it's like
They're literally sneaking.
yeah.
Like the tension, and it comes from, will they get caught? Like the big scene where he's dangling in front of that computer, because they thought they were trying to recover or catch a crime in progress, but now they're just going to steal this list with all like the undercover spies on it.
Yeah, which is, I guess, a thing that happened in real life that like got leaked.
Why would you ever write anything like that down?
I don't know, but like that's...
Why would you ever keep them all, like, okay, you keep the names, you don't keep them all together.
Yeah.
Those are separate files, damn it.
I mean, like, it happened in real life, though, like, there was all this, like, CIA shit that got, like, leaked by multiple people. But, yeah, so it's kind of weird. It predicted the future. I guess the fancy computer room with, like, the weighted floor and the retinal scanner stuff.
That's one thing that's a little wonky with this movie, is like we see him on the computer using the internet.
That's right. I mean, I love how they type in internet access to go on the internet.
What the?
It's 1996. It's very new. People didn't understand what the internet was yet.
But we had icons. We clicked on icons. Icons were a thing on screens.
It's true. It's just way too much typing. Also, I don't get what that guy's job was at that computer. Like, he was in that, like, special room, and I guess that room, they were pretty chilled out because, like, he brought, like, coffee in there and stuff, and I'm like, for such, like, a secured area, it's just like...
Guys gotta drink coffee, man.
I guess so. Like, I mean, he also, like, got poisoned by the one lady and, like, threw up in the garbage can. And I do wonder if, like, well, I guess the weight sensors deactivate when he's in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's when there's nobody in there, and it's like there's not supposed to be anyone in there.
Yeah. Like, they do show, like, the one scene where they're talking about, like, this room and how, like, the drip of water falls on the floor and the alarm goes off. And I'm like, how often would that actually happen if that guy's allowed to bring drinks in there?
Constantly.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't matter when he was in there working, because the sensors aren't on for that. But, you leave the drink in there, that's going to happen.
Just like, my big gulp got condensation on it. I'm sorry.
It's not my fault.
Yeah.
It's like, you left it in there. You're under arrest.
Yeah. It's in Langley, which is the CIA headquarters in real life, because I know that from American Dad. Which is kind of funny. I'm like, American Dad has a lot in common with Mission Impossible, I guess. Except not at all.
Sure. Sure, buddy.
Sam Smith
Sure.
is just Ethan Hunt. But, yeah, the whole sequence with him doing his, I don't know what it is, like the trapeze thing with the one guy who almost screws up the whole mission by having his, like, knife.
Was it John Reno, I think his name is?
Yeah, I forgot the character's name.
Yeah, I don't remember the character's name. I always see that guy, I'm like, it's the guy from Godzilla.
Oh, yeah, it is the guy from Godzilla. I mean, it's kind of like, that guy almost screws up the entire mission, but it is kind of like also like badass unintentionally, where like they steal the data and then like the guy goes back into the room and there's just like the knife stuck into like the computer desk.
It's amazing that it landed that perfectly.
I know. It's like such like a like crazy like baller move, but like unintentional, of course, so they know somebody stole something. You know, he's selling it to that like British lady, which I don't even know exactly what she is, except for some sort of like black market dealer.
I think the idea was, like, at least how he sold it is like, yeah, you give me some money and point me out to this guy who I want revenge on. You could have this that you could sell on the black market to everyone, all the terrorists and shit.
Yeah.
That seemed to be what was happening there. Of course, it was all just a ruse on the part of Tom Cruise. At least I think it was.
Yeah.
Hard to tell.
Yeah, it's weird. It's almost like, was he just trying to find the guy that like he thought, you know, set him up? But then when he finds out that Jim actually is alive, then the plan kind of changes.
Well, I mean, he finds out that Jim Phelps is alive. He is the guy that set him up.
Yeah.
He is the guy that he was looking for.
Yeah.
So yeah, whatever he was going to do to start changes, I guess.
Yeah.
Because then he's just like, I can't trust the girl now.
Pretty much. I mean, the thing about Ethan Hunt in this movie is like, I guess like he's like super observant about stuff. Like he just like remembers like the smallest details. Like when Jim shows up again, he just like instantly is just like, oh shit, you betrayed us. You fucking suck.
Because he had already found the Bible
Yeah.
with the stamp in it.
Yeah.
So him being alive is just like he's already putting it all together in his head, and he's trying to figure out, because he's not sure when he's like breaking it down in his mind. Was she working with him? Was his wife not?
Yeah.
Because he pictures her blowing up the other lady, but he also pictures Jim doing it, so he's not sure about that.
Yeah.
So he has to pull his little fancy mask trick to trick her.
Pretty much, yeah. That fancy mask trick. I don't know if they do that in the newer movies.
I hear it still pops up.
Okay, because I've only really seen up to like Mission Impossible 3, and then like they made more after that, and I was just like, whoa, they made more after this, but that's the one where Tom Cruise went crazy promoting the movie. Remember when he jumped on Oprah's couch?
Yeah, I mean, that's why he kind of had I know because of the South Park Scientology episode, he kind of had a bit of a falling out with Paramount for a minute.
Yeah.
But then I don't know how they mended fences, and then Tom Cruise just started jumping off of stuff.
Yeah.
And everyone was just like, we like this. It's like, what about the Scientology thing? We're just going to ignore that.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
It's not fine, but everyone just ignores it.
He just keeps it to himself now. Like most people do with their religions.
Yeah, you just shut up. Just shut up and jump off of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the Mission Impossible 4 was the one where like it's just like, oh, he just like does like a crazy stunt now.
I mean, this is the one that kind of brought that franchise back. It was gone for like a few years, right?
Yeah, it was gone for a while.
Yeah.
But then again, maybe it wasn't as long as I think, because I think Mission Impossible 3 was like 2005. And then I think like
Maybe
4 might have come out like somewhere around like 2009, 2010. So I guess it was gone for like 5 years, maybe.
Something like that.
At the most. That's all I can really think.
But credit where credit's due. They brought
Yeah.
that franchise back with a vengeance. It's still consistently successful.
It's like they made another trilogy, and then now they're on the 7th movie. So
Which is like a two-parter, which they were saying like this is going to be the two-part ending of the series. But now Tom Cruise is like, maybe I'll do this till I'm 80.
I saw Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones, and I'm like, I could do that. I mean, it is kind of.
What can he do when he can't run anymore?
I don't know. They'll do the whole thing where eventually Ethan Hunt betrays his team, and the cycle begins anew.
You know what? That would be turned about as fair play.
Yeah.
But nowadays people get mad about that shit.
I don't
very
care.
mad.
I think that would be amazing.
I'm just saying, if that shit that happened in the first movie happened with the way things are now, I'd see so many YouTube thumbnails. They ruined Jim Phelps. They ruined this character, beloved character, icon.
When Tom Cruise is like 88 years old and they make Mission Impossible like 12.
I would say, well, they would do it when he was in his. Oh, he's already 60.
Yeah, they do Mission Impossible 12, and then he hands over the franchise to a new actor playing
Jeremy Renner.
They tried that with Bourne. It didn't work.
They tried it with this too, didn't they?
Did they?
They brought him in to because they thought Tom Cruise was going to segue out of the series.
Are they? Wow, really? Man, I gotta watch like the other Mission Impossibles.
But like once he realized, oh no, Tom Cruise isn't going anywhere, he kind of like, I'm busy doing Avengers stuff. He only did like maybe 2.
Okay. I really want to see the one where Tom Cruise fights Superman in it. Just because I want to see how good the mustache is. That like
the mustache that was one of the major components in destroying the Justice League movie.
Exactly. It's like I just want to see, like, was that mustache worth ruining another movie for?
I mean, I don't know about the mustache, but it sounds like the movie was.
Yeah.
I hear that one's really good.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's the one I don't have on this collection.
5 movies.
Yes.
A couple short.
Yeah. There's 2 more now. But yeah, you know, Mission Impossible 1, it's the starting point of this like franchise. And,
Well, this incarnation of the franchise.
right.
The franchise started in the 60s.
That's insane.
Went to into the 70s for like 7 seasons apparently. Had a brief relaunch in the 80s, but that only lasted a couple seasons. And then they dusted it off in the mid 90s.
Wow. That's insane.
Which, when you in the grand scheme of things, means there wasn't really that too much time in between. And like maybe like a decade between like the 70s and the 80s ones.
Yeah, like 15 years at most.
At most, yeah. And then like 7-8 years between the late 80s revival and then this. So like they've kept this franchise. People have known about it for decades. So
Yeah, and it's insane that it is a continuation.
yeah.
Like, I had no idea. I thought Ethan Hunt was just like the guy in the other like 60s one.
Nah, they technically sequelized it, even though they recast the role because they made the other guy a bad guy for some reason.
Yeah. It's crazy.
You know what they could have done? And I was just thinking about this because Jim Phelps wasn't the original main guy. He came in the second season. They took over from this other character that I mentioned before. What if you had that guy be the traitor and he kills Jim Phelps for revenge?
Oh man.
I'm just rewriting the movie in my brain to
Yeah.
make people in the 90s happy that were kids in the 60s.
It's true. I don't think anybody really cared though.
I
back
mean,
then.
probably at the time there would have been some people that cared.
There's a bunch of angry letters written to Wizard magazine when this movie came out.
It's not like today where you would see endless tweets and YouTube videos and stuff about it. Like, you know, you'd hear about it. Maybe there'd be some letters.
Yeah.
It's not, you wouldn't really know for sure, but I'm sure there was people annoyed. It's like, why would they do that?
Yeah.
But we're so far removed from that now that the idea of this franchise not being about Tom Cruise jumping on stuff is like, what are you talking about? These movies are about Tom Cruise jumping on things. It's not about some guy named Jim.
Yeah, he does crazy stunts.
Yeah, what are you talking
Jumped
about?
a motorcycle over a fjord in the new one.
He broke his foot or something.
Oh yeah. There's the one with the plane.
I remember that
And
one.
there's the one where he's on the side of the building.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
Yeah. I think all that stuff is from like Mission Impossible 4 and onward.
I think so.
I know Mission Impossible 3 is like the one movie that I was like, wow, J.J. Abrams directed this. I'm like, huh, weird. I usually don't like his movies.
Which is the one where the knife gets like a centimeter away from his eye?
I don't know. That might be.
That might be 2 or 3.
I think it might be 2. 2 is like the black sheep of the franchise.
That's the one by that John Woo guy, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's the one that I remember trying to rewatch and just being like, this feels so different than like number 1. It's like, what happened? But
Different
I
director.
should give it another chance. Mission Impossible 2. I remember, I think like Ethan has like long hair in that movie, or at least at the beginning he does. It was that like brief time where I was just like, Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, they're like the same person, right? It's like, no, they're not. But they have long hair. They're the same guy, right? No.
One's got dark hair, one's got lighter hair.
Yeah. But yeah, Mission Impossible 1, it's pretty good. I don't know if it's necessary viewing to see the later ones, but
I don't know.
yeah.
I might continue on. Jump on, watch 2.
Yeah, I'll probably watch 2 just to remember, like,
Be like,
is this
"Ooh."
movie as weird as I remember it to be?
I'll watch 2, be like, I don't know if I want to keep going, but everyone keeps talking about how good the other ones are.
I think 3's good. 3 was really good, and then like they made 4, 5, and 6, and then I just never got around to watching them.
I don't know, I just never. Sometimes there's just franchises you don't bother with. Like, I never really bothered with Fast and Furious or Harry Potter
Yep,
or anything that's an anime.
it's true. Yeah, we've both seen Fast and Furious 1 and the spinoff.
I don't know how that happened.
Yes. Fast and Furious 1 is amazing because all they want to do is steal DVD players.
I just like the disparity between stealing DVD players and The Rock and Jason Statham fighting a superpowered Idris Elba.
It's pretty good.
How the hell did that happen? do they bring in superpowers into this? To this franchise?
I mean, I kind of hope they do now, so we'll see.
I think they just...
I'm kind of hoping that like the franchise just continues on forever and Tom Cruise eventually becomes the villain at whichever one he's just like, I can't do it anymore. That would be amazing.
Would he do that, though?
He should. I don't care if he would. It just seems like it would be so appropriate where he's just like... But like, I feel like in every movie he's like, you're a rogue agent.
He went rogue in this one.
I know.
It's the first one and he went rogue.
Exactly.
The problem is you would need to find the right person to take his place.
Exactly.
It just really isn't that anymore.
No.
Like, no offense to Jeremy Renner, it wasn't going to be him.
No, definitely not. But who knows? Mission Impossible 12 is a long way away, but that's where I'm putting where Tom Cruise becomes the bad guy.
Whatever you say, pal.
Be funny if it actually happens. But anyway, I guess that's the Out of Touch podcast.
In 5 seconds, this podcast will self-destruct.
No.